There.
Okay, it says it's being live streamed, but YouTube isn't showing it yet.
You're as impatient as my wife when she tells me to take out the trash.
There's Kim. Check it out. All right. Okay, let me focus on this YouTube mess a minute.
Well, we are live.
I see YouTube live.
Testing. Is Kim here?
Hi,
Is Kim here?
I don't know if Kim's here, but the horse lady is.
Yeah. Yeah, fortunately we did some testing before because it's been so long since I've done this. I packed away all my stuff. So I had to like pull it out and, camera and everything. Like
I just dropped the YouTube link in the chat, Terry.
Okay, I
So
see it's up there now.
So yeah.
Sorry about that, Kim. Stepped on you.
Oh no, that's okay.
So we are live and we are here. Let's go around the table and introduce ourselves. Terry?
Terry Van Horn. I live in Toronto. And yeah, that's about it.
Simon?
Retired.
Simon Cox, technical SEO expert, specialist in Brighton SEO drinking.
Sarah?
Zara Altair. I'm in the Pacific Northwest and I write content for websites.
And Steve?
Steve Grinzer, webinar wall, and expert in nothing, but I know quite a bit about an awful lot of things.
And I'm Doc Sheldon, also with Web Narwhal. And I know if I need to know something, I call Steve. And we've got a special guest with us today, who is a certified expert on our topic for the day, which is going to be specifically accessibility. Kim Kraus-Berg, CPACC, and has long been our go-to person for questions on usability and accessibility. And there are some pending legislations looming on the horizon that are going to really upend the development industry and affect website owners tremendously as they are currently written. And even if beneficially edited, they may still have a tremendous impact. But Kim, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. And
Thanks
I'm
for
going to give you the podium because you're the SME here.
Okay, well, hi everybody. Actually, it's kind of fun that the SEOs care about accessibility. You guys are few and far between, believe me. Just getting everybody on board to consider accessibility in web design from top level on down to everybody else working on any project is still really difficult. And I'm completely 100% buried in it every day and night. And to, even from the content side, I'm asked questions about, can we say this? How do we say this? Just from the content writing side alone, because we're not only writing for people who can see, but people who can't see. And like, for example, the other day I was just asked, can we use the word bottom and below? And well, okay, let's think about that. If you're just listening to something, can you even say footer or below or right side, left side? And this is my world every single day. So what is happening now is California, being California, introduced a bill that right now has been put on pause. But the gist of it is they want to make websites certified as being accessible. They want any third party website that you might use, including a plugin, or any website that you link out to has to be certified as accessible. And the people who certify the website as being accessible have to have specific training and a certification to, I know, Terry, I know it's insane, to say that the website is accessible. And the pushback has been through the roof. Maybe parts of it were well-intentioned, but they have, like, literally, if they say I'm legally, because I am certified, if I'm legally responsible for any web property that I work on or mobile app, because I'm including them, I would leave my career. I would be done. There's just no way that I would take responsibility for something that's never done. And so it, the part about the certification was thrown in, and the people who do, they said, well, the person that you have to be certified as CPWA, which is advanced. That's even, like, I'm going for my exam and I'm studying for it. There's less than 700 people in the world with that level. Yeah. Can you imagine? Yeah. And that, the CPWA level is hard. It requires some QA background, as well as knowing ARIA and all kinds of, it's definitely more technical. But it doesn't cover apps. The course curriculum is old. It's not even current. So there's like so many loopholes. But the IAAP, which does the certification and has the courses, they were caught off guard. They did not know that they were being written into this bill. And yeah, they were horrified.
So the people who are going to have to do the certification hear about it after the fact with no input.
No input.
Tell them, hey, this isn't doable because there aren't enough people to do the work. Do you know how much it will cost more to develop a website? It'll be out of price for most companies.
That was the first thing that one of the first pushbacks was, okay, small business, forget it. But even at the level that I'm at, because I'm corporate and we've got like 60 web properties plus a mobile app, they are just like totally freaked out. Because I'm one person for that whole entire company. There's no way that they can put me on all of that. So fortunately we have a legal team and they're, like, oh my God. But the risk to anybody who does any work for a website just went up, because if this goes through, we're all in big, deep doo-doo. I don't think it has a chance in hell, to be honest with you. There's so many people fighting against this. There's lobbyists going, fighting against it. But some of the other parts of it are going to go through, because something like you have to be able to prove, like if you a plaintiff right now, you have to be able to, sometimes you can prove that you had met a barrier. Sometimes you don't have to prove it. That's all that waffling. That's even been all the way up to the Supreme Court. This law says the plaintiff has to be able to prove that they couldn't do something. And so that would be good, because that would chop, all the serial filings and lawsuits that have been happening, whether the person ran into a barrier or not, that would stop.
Lawyers are going to come out of the woodwork like it'll be nutty.
Yeah, they're setting up, people are already afraid of accessibility in general. And this just puts a panic button on all of it. And because I work in this field, I know that it's fluid. It's always changing. the WCAG, for example, 2.1 is going to be 2.2 any month now. It was already promised, but maybe in October 2.2 will be the new standard. Once that, and that means everybody's going to have to change and adapt and meet the new 2.2 standard. Fortunately, there's not a whole lot of new parts to it,
Yeah.
but now they're working on 3.0. And
Yeah, but-
3.0, wait till you hear this.
It's going to be radically different. Yeah.
Radically, it's not even going to include anything before. They're getting rid of 2.1, 2.2, and 2.0. 3.0 is throwing out everything and starting all over again.
Seems fair.
Yeah.
This is going to make ambulance chasing an entirely new career. Wow.
I think it's
Yeah.
time to open the fishing charter.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
If there's only one certification company, they can charge whatever they want.
Well, it's going to cost you 25 grand to even talk to a consultant.
Well,
there's 700
especially
of
if there's a shortage of consultants. That's how marketing works.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I just did the math real quick out of curiosity, and with current numbers, each certified person is going to be responsible for 2.8 million websites. To
Yeah.
cover them
Only.
all.
I'm assuming Kim is pushing for a massive pay rise at this point.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and that's just the websites. They're adding native apps.
Yeah.
So, and that kind of part is going to get fed in through Title II. And that, I don't know if you're aware of that, but Title II is state and local government, ADA.
I've already thought of a big thing. I develop WordPress plugins. I don't put any CSS, but some idiot could do something stupid using my plugin and I'm responsible.
Exactly.
Oh, fuck that. I'm not going to
Yes.
release it.
That you would be liable. Yeah, they
That's
don't.
just moronic. That's
Isn't
not knowing how things work.
Well,
Right.
and then they'll think about things like WordPress's Gutenberg and other block editors.
Mhm.
You have very little control, if any, over what that block is going to do with what you put in there.
Yeah, let's all just sue WordPress.
And then the modifications
Move it
that
down the road.
the updates to that block editor can undo or change everything that you did. I know one of the things that Steve is battling with right now is gradation in colors, trying to meet contrast
Oh,
when you're using any gradation is mission impossible.
yeah. Not happening.
Gradients
happening,
are bad.
dude.
Gradient background, it's hard to get a good because the
Contrast.
change in the
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I started reaching out yesterday and today to a lot of the major platform developers like Duda and Squarespace and Wix and all them, asking them specifically, do you have an accessibility team? If yes, how do I contact them to let them know the things they're building don't even meet bare minimum?
Mhm.
Because with a lot of these builders, you can't make changes. And even simple things like a row of social media icons across the bottom that have no alt or ARIA descriptions attached to them. I can't even add that if I want to.
Right.
So my
That's really
solution, my solution to being compliant is to simply remove it,
yeah, that's
because I can't be compliant with it. And if at some point I'm going to be responsible for it, I'm taking it out. And of course, clients don't like that. They want those icons. So pushing the platform developers is going to be a big deal going forward, especially like the big theme builders like Divi and Genesis and all of them. They're going to have to step up.
Yep. Well, here's the kicker, and I've been saying this for so long. WCAG is not law.
Nope.
And so you cannot enforce guidelines. They're not law. where the lawsuits come in is district circuit courts, and the judges is kind of like, well, the judge is like, well, it's a website. I'm going to rule in favor of the plaintiff today, but they kind of make it up as they go along. So you cannot enforce something that isn't law in the first place. And they're never going to make WCAG a
Nope.
legal
happen.
standard.
And I doubt that WCAG would want it to become a legal standard.
Plus, you're going in with your hands tied because you're going against disabled people. The judge is almost always going to favor them if they can't use something properly.
Right. And interestingly enough, the more I spend time in this field, I realized that people with disabilities are not as fanatical about many things like we are. We stress out, and I know I stress out over the stupidest things. And when I go and do the research, they're like, what are you stressing out about that for? We know how to work around that. We know how to get around that. That's, to us, is not a barrier. But boy, if somebody sues you, then suddenly it's a thing. So there's a lot of miscommunication and misunderstanding about what we're supposed to do and who we're doing it for. Yes, accessibility is necessary. It's going to grow. Right. Everybody should have equal access to be able to use a website
for sure
on their device. Getting all that to happen isn't easy, and it's ongoing. It's never done.
Yeah, it's a process, not a destination.
Yeah, there's no such state as done.
Right.
It's always fluid. So you cannot certify something, like even in an agile environment where we're constantly doing code, revising code, remediating code, throwing new code on top of old code. The whole situation is never done. You can't say it's just not.
One of the things that
certification.
one of the ideas that jumps out at me and concerns me a lot is now for the average brochure site owner out there, the WordPress site, they're going to be vulnerable for whatever decisions are made within WordPress, within their theme developer, plugin developers, anybody that they link to. External links, good Lord, how not only do I have to investigate and see if they claim to be certified, does the person that said that they're certified hold certification to be able to make that claim? Okay. So this is absolutely ridiculous. It unfortunately, it's not uncharacteristic of a lot of actions that legislatures undertake, but this one has thank goodness the author decided to ask to postpone the hearing until next year.
Yeah, they tabled it for now.
For now, hopefully till the beginning of the next year. But boy, they need to bring some reason to the table, because the effect this is going to have is going to drive costs up and sites down. And the kick of it is, to me, that's so ironic, is one of the prime motivations from the get-go on this was not to make life easier for people who have handicaps. It was to reduce the burden on the court system. Well, guess what, folks? You shot yourself in the foot on that one.
Yeah.
Well, Doc was also telling me earlier that if I'm a developer and you're my client, and I say to you, that doesn't pass, I want it put in the contract that I'm not responsible for that. He said that doesn't fly.
Doesn't fly.
Nope.
That's mental.
There's no, it didn't look like there was exceptions. They were like trying to remove all that. And no, it was really strange. That I couldn't figure that out either. Like putting the 100% burden on one person to say everything here is certified, and the person who's doing the certification has to prove their credentials. Like if you're not a CPWA, you're certified in other places, or your so-called trusted tester, or some of the other things that are out there, they didn't consider that good enough. And so you would have to prove your credentials. And I thought, oh my God.
Can you answer a question for me? If you can't, because it's probably information the group you work for don't want out there. How much does it cost for a certification?
Oh, certification, that's public knowledge, but
Okay.
yeah. The IAAP is very affordable. If you get the CPAC, which I have, it was only a couple $100. The most of the time was just my time studying.
Well, I don't mean you. I
Oh.
mean, if I'm a website and I come to you and say, how much to certify this? We're talking what it costs to develop the site, basically, correct?
They won't even put it in the budget. It would be way too much.
Yeah,
When
it
you
has
figure-
several zeros.
When you look at people who are doing accessibility audits, charging anywhere between $100 and $500 per page,
Yeah.
Yep.
that's just for the audit. Yeah, because you have to test every page. You can't test the template.
Yeah.
I'm going through this now with clients where I'm going back through blog posts and going, we have been over this. You can't do these things. And then I have to fix them for a blog post they did 3 weeks ago. And there should be, simple things like alt text and an image. As a platform like WordPress, they should be able to make it so that an image cannot be published without that attached to it.
And it's easy to do. Yeah.
But they don't do it. And so clients, they're just throwing up images and they don't care.
Right.
That's not their thing. So yeah, you're looking, if you're a big website, you could be, tens, 20s, hundreds of thousands of dollars to be certified. And it all goes out the window as soon as somebody publishes something new.
Right. There's a couple companies that are, that's all they do is audits and testing, and they're very, very good. At the corporate level, a lot of what we do is outsourced to those companies, and that's really expensive. But still, somebody has to go through the audit, present it to the developers. It's got to be remediated. It's got to be retested. I mean, it's a hell of a process. You just can't do an audit and say, okay, we did the audit, we're all done, everything's fine. It doesn't work that way. And this law, the California bill anyway, says that the auditing companies would be liable as well. Like if they certify it, or it's really weird the way it's worded, but they're pushing back too.
Lawyers
and
and
then
insurance companies are the only ones who are going to benefit from it.
Which brings another question up then, Kim. How about the folks that developed the AXE and Wave tester? Sounds to me like they could be held vulnerable too if they push this through as it is.
All those tools do, and ARC and a lot of, and Axe Pro and all that, they're really good. They go through, they check the WCAG guideline. You hit it, you didn't hit it. Sometimes they'll prioritize, okay, this is a critical problem. This one you can put off for later. But what they don't do is manual testing with real people. And you can't certify anything unless you have real human beings testing and with screen readers. And then the other thing is there's a whole lot of screen readers out there, but they do not all read back. The audio is different. They treat, like JAWS will say graphic, I think, instead of image. I mean, there's like all these different variations between screen readers. And there's no way you're going to pay somebody to go through and take a separate screen reader and go through every single page. Nobody does that.
So how long would that take for a single page? Because I'm thinking about news organizations who are putting out breaking news stories. They haven't got time to go through an accessibility test for that single page. Yes, the framework will work, but the content in it and any links in there can't go unless they're on a list of certified links they can go to. It
would take too long.
The hair out thinking about that.
Yeah, it's big.
Well,
Fortunately, I don't have to do a whole lot of QA in where I'm at now. I did in my previous job. It drove me nuts. But I still know that companies do not pay for human beings. They will pay for the overlays because they think that's the magic solution to everything. And they will pay for tools or browser stack. Actually, I think started to have, it's in beta, but browser stack is starting to emulate screen readers. I don't care how much you emulate something, it's still not how a human being, especially with like native apps. Everybody uses their phones differently. And get a load of this. This one I love. Native apps are not browser based. They're operating system based. So the code completely different. Everything that you build for a native app has to be overridden by the user. They have full control over the user experience, not you, not us, not the developer. And I think a lot of people don't understand that. And if you use your phone and you use an app for anything, if you go into your accessibility settings, you'd be amazed at what you can do. And it's all you. But a lot of people can't, they're prevented from doing that because the app itself is preventing them. That to me is another area for lawsuits that people don't even know about.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like you can change your backgrounds, the font size, the magnify, the zoom. There was another one I was looking at. I'm still finding things that screen readers do for native apps that I didn't even know existed. It's crazy. So if I don't know, and I've been doing this, I mean, I do this every day. Regular small business owners are not. They're just not.
You mentioned the O word a minute ago.
Oh yeah.
And I want to talk about the overlays at some point. There are some out there that do some good things, but I've noticed a couple of them that'll write on their website. They will tell you that they will make your website compliant with ADA compliant. Yeah. And maybe their lawyer told them that you're not saying 100%, so you're okay, but you're implying that the 2% that you're achieving is going to be enough to make them think that they're getting out of hot water. And I am not at all impressed with the level of compliance that any overlay is able to deliver. And I'm disgusted by some of their, not all of them, their marketing ploys to make prospects think that this is the golden bullet. This is going to solve their problem. When in reality, some of them break screen readers right and left.
Yeah.
Because they don't know how to employ ARIA.
Right. Right.
It's, I had to jump on that because I know there's an awful lot of people out there that think that, well, if I grab this overlay or that overlay, my problems are solved. And do not think that.
All meta boxes on WordPress have no ARIA. I was coding one the other day.
Tools are great for letting you know there's a problem. And the better tools will give you some clue as to where it is and how to fix it. Like Axe Pro, that's my favorite. And TPGI's ARC tool. They will tell you, this is a problem, this is where it is, this is a clue as to how to fix it. You still have to have a dev that knows how to apply that solution. A lot of them don't know how.
Yeah.
Also in WordPress, you can change the menus. I changed one to a color I could hardly read the print.
Yep.
I'd love to have a conversation with Matt Mullenweg and ask him. I'm going to assume that he already has significant awareness about this issue.
Oh, I'm sure.
Ask him what he thinks that he can do, because this could have a tremendous impact on the entire internet, at least that's within the jurisdiction of these laws. And I do, before you do leave, Kim, I want to make sure you mentioned to me privately that this isn't the only pending legislation. There are others.
Yeah.
kind of like the privacy stuff. It just seems to cascade from state to state to state until you got 50 different standards. And at some point, there's going to have to be a federal standard, or it'll be even more impossible to comply across the board.
But you'll have different standards in every state.
Well, that's what we're looking at right now with privacy. So if you're a U.S. based business with clients, potential customers in all 50 states, the best you can do is pick the most stringent set of requirements to comply with those and hope. But I have found instances where the most stringent in almost every instance, if you comply with that, you're still not going to comply with at least one other state.
Right.
Yeah, the other thing is the fact that if a Californian citizen comes to my website in Canada and complains, they're going to try and, but it'd be like, yeah, come and get me.
Canada has some nice little laws. on the books.
It's provincial here too. I was looking a few months ago, I was on the government site and I saw accessibility for websites. What are you talking about? I never realized there were.
Yeah. They and they've been slowly rolling this stuff out, and they communicate with everybody. I'm working on something where we have to be compliant with Canada. And just because, if you've got if you partner with different websites from different countries, you got to behave yourself and meet their laws. Same thing with UK. Every state has accessibility laws or rules on the table. Every single one of them does. Some are stricter. I think Colorado, somebody was saying somewhere that they were kind of pretty strict, which I didn't realize that Colorado was. But I was going to say something for Title II is being, they're doing the final evaluation for Title II. That's the state and local government. Section 508 is or federal. That's already law in America. You're going to hear about, .govs and .edus legally have to meet Section 508. That's old news. Title II is state and local. And that's going to be, that's in the rulemaking stage or whatever. It's been posted. I think in July they did that. When that goes through, that's going to make state and local legally binding. And what's going to follow is Title III, and that's everybody else.
Or
E-com.
municipal.
Yeah, but I mean e-com, blogs, all the rest of us. And so what I foresee happening is in 2024, the shit's going to hit the fan, because they're going to, Title III is going to follow Title II. They're kissing cousins.
Yeah.
So
Title II
from a
paving the way.
commercial point of view, is this going to affect just companies and people operating in California or
No.
outside? Because what may happen then is that everybody in California says, well, I'll stick my business offshore, etc.
Won't matter. That's
No,
why.
So Terry and I can be sued by a Californian, somebody in California. Yeah, exactly, Terry. We'll do that exactly. Well, that's nuts.
That type of lawsuit has happened so often in the past where a state like Utah will pass certain morality laws and then sue a company in Washington state because somebody from Utah could see that. Therefore,
so
you violated Utah law. Therefore, we're going to go after you.
So therefore, everybody just geo-blocks California and says, but nobody in California can see my stuff, which actually is then less beneficial for the people in California.
But then you will have police departments using VPNs to do a workaround to get to your website anyway, and then still sue you because there is still a way to get to you. I used to work in a more mature space. We'll call it mature. And this was a fairly common problem that they had to deal with other states coming after them for reasons.
California has the UNRRA law as
Yeah.
well, which is their privacy law or civil rights.
Mhm.
So lots of times an ADA lawsuit piggybacks off of that one in California.
And that UNRRA does have some teeth.
Yeah, it does.
It does.
Yeah.
You know what could end up happening? People just block screen readers and anybody who may be an issue.
I don't think they can.
I don't
Sure
think
they
there's
can.
any way
Yeah.
to do it.
Just
They
put
can fail.
stuff
They
that
can
if you-
fail to support it, but they can't block it.
Right. Right.
So
Screen
for-
readers are built in. They're on a
Yeah,
mobile
that's right.
device. They're part of the operating
Oh,
system.
so you can't really isolate that and say, accessibility issue.
Right. Nope. It's built into iOS and Android, and Mac too. They come with VoiceOver. It's built into the operating system for Mac. But JAWS is separate, and so is NVDA for PCs.
That's probably why Edge added voice. You can now in the browser window just hit the voice and it'll read the page.
And isn't that cool? And Chrome's going to do it. They're about ready to release that. Same thing.
So what I need to do is start adding white on white text at the head of every page that talks dirty to people using screen readers.
There you go.
Oh, don't you do that already?
Well,
Yeah, I was gonna
it's
say,
at the bottom of the page.
you said you
now.
started that last year, Steve.
Funny. I spend a lot of time just trying to describe to people how screen readers
Work.
read their page.
Yeah.
That's really, it's the DOM for the web is completely different than the accessibility tree. And they communicate in two different ways. And can you imagine like pages that have like a lot of buttons and links and text and pictures? A screen reader, they read linearly unless you've got some landmarks and ways to kind of break that up and let them jump. And I spend a lot of time just saying, okay, there's a rotor command. You ask for that damn thing to tell you, okay, where are all the H1s? Where's all the links? Where's all the images? And you get that listed to help them navigate fast, because otherwise it's an onslaught.
Yeah.
I mean, the experience for anybody using a screen reader is not fun. I mean, they're used to it. They know how to work, but I was Liana Watson, who's blind and like an accessibility famous person. She said it took her 3 years to learn JAWS.
Wow.
Yeah, that's big. I can't stand JAWS, but once you learn one of these things, you don't want to. It's hard to flip around because they're all different.
It does not promise to be a boring time the next year or two.
Yeah, it's getting.
Makes me
Just-
glad I'm retired.
Yeah. I just keep okay, this is a risk, this is a risk, this is a risk. And what's funny is that they'll say, okay, well, that's a risk. Thank you for letting us know. Click.
Yeah.
And that's been happening ever since forever. But eventually we're not going to be able to ignore, when somebody's blocked from doing something that everybody else can do without a problem, that's an issue. And
Well, let's talk about some of that awareness. I know that from 21 to 22, the number of lawsuits was like quadrupled.
yeah,
And then in the first quarter of 2023, we surpassed the total number of lawsuits of 2022. And this is not even talking about phase one of all these ambulance chasers who send out demand letters hoping to get paid under the table to avoid going to court. We have no idea how many of those demand letters there are, but we do know that they preface the lawsuits almost always, and there's a lot more of those that get paid off than there are lawsuits. So that's a major issue. My inclination on a demand letter would be middle digit of my right hand, and quick, go fix what he said was broken. Okay, because just like with GDPR in the EU, and with a lot of the cases that we've seen actually go to suit so far in terms of accessibility, an honest, ongoing effort by the business to improve and meet the requirements is given some consideration by most judges. Okay, if you're really trying and not just paying lip service to it, they're generally being not necessarily forgiving, although some have actually thrown cases out, but not enough.
Document everything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
And
not
that's
kidding
something-
you.
That's
Yeah.
something we've been doing
Yeah.
directly on client websites these days.
Mhm.
I try to do at least quarterly, sometimes monthly, depending on what my work schedule looks like, scans of websites for clients. And it's like, oh, here's something new we need to fix. Then I document it on the website. And that's just a habit now. That way the client can see it, I can see it, anybody who I can point to it and say, look, this is what we've been doing for the last 2 years.
Yep.
And we are making the best effort we can.
And document your policies
Oh, yeah.
and guidelines, like for content writing, you've got that policy. Make sure that that's readily available if anybody asks for it, because it shows that you're paying attention.
Mhm.
I mean, like, and come up with like a program and a plan, and just, you have to be able to prove that you are making that effort. That goes a long way. They always tell us in the field, don't expect perfection. It's never going to happen, because you know how the SEOs like feel like they're going to like want to shoot themselves. The pressure can be so overwhelming.
Mhm.
Accessibility industries going through that.
Well, speaking of
One
SEOs,
paying into another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's like, why am I doing this? But
so speaking of SEOs and accessibility, I've been trying to explain to people that accessibility is good for your SEO.
Oh yeah.
100%. There is almost nothing you can do in accessibility that does not improve your SEO.
Yep.
Whether it's simple, just updating all your alt tags, or making sure that your links. I just found out a couple of days ago that all of our links off-site should be noted as leaving the website, because we've been opening new tabs and new browsers with external links since the first day we could do that.
Mhm.
Because that's maybe not a great usability issue, but it's a fabulous issue for keeping people on your website, because people will click a link and go away and then never come back.
Especially if they're
And-
using a mobile device.
Yes. And so just this morning, we came up with a script that we could drop in the head of a website and it automatically tags every link that goes out.
Mhm.
It solves a problem.
Yep.
It makes the website more compliant.
Mhm.
It doesn't hurt.
Right.
So
Yeah, we call
there's
them
just a
speed
lot.
bumps.
Okay.
The little things as well, like
Bumps.
internal links. When contextually you read a headline and a bit of description, it says read more, but a screen reader just goes through the links and reads them all. It's like read more, read more, read more, read more. And a person who's screen reader has no idea where they're going. And from an SEO point of view, contextualize where that link's going, because that gives more benefit to the link. And it's just simple little things like that. When you explain to somebody, it's not just you looking at this, there's a good old blind Google looking at it as well. And I'm with Steve on this, and I know Kim's on this as well. I've sold accessibility in on the back of SEO in the past. It's so much easier when people go, oh, SEO, good. We go, great, we'll get some accessibility bunged in on the back of that. It's a lot easier than selling accessibility first and then SEO.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, the way the wording in WCAG is it programmably related to, and that for the longest time I was like, what the freaking heck are they talking about? All they're saying is that learn more, more, all of those vague labels need to be associated with something ahead of it to explain where you're going. Or just make a text link and the anchor text actually say something important like, hey, you're going here. And then throw it. To me, conversions words seem to be falling away, sadly. I mean, I used to really be into that. Like, okay, give them a reason to go. If you're gonna put in a text link, why? What's in it for me? I'm noticing that there's not a whole lot of that anymore. I don't know why. You guys kind of pay attention to that, but but if you're listening, you want that same push, that value prop,
Mhm.
just like a visual person.
That off-site thing, can you put that in the title?
The what thing?
The letting people know it's off-site when you mouse over it. If there's a title, it's the screen
I've done
text.
this
Cool,
for
Tim.
you can use a little CSS thing that detects that it's an external link. Just add a little icon at the end that's showing it's an external link.
Yep.
And obviously,
Yeah, that little box with an arrow pointing up to the upper right.
yeah,
That's for the visual.
For the
that works.
visual.
yeah, for the visual
Yeah.
line, yeah.
And
And
just,
Ario should take care of it with the reader.
yeah, little ARIA label or whatever it is, there's so many rules for that, but yeah,
Yeah.
just let them know they're going somewhere. And also new windows. I don't like them. Especially with, with everybody on a mobile device now. Once you take them off your website, there's no back button, there's no way back. A lot of people just get completely lost. And I'll tell you another one. You guys probably don't even realize it, but when you see a form and have the placeholder label inside the form field,
Mhm.
they don't put it on top of the form field, they put it inside. That's invisible to screen readers.
Yep.
It's not a text
Uh-huh.
field.
Yep.
So they can't
It's a
use
fail.
it.
And
It's
there
a-
are very few WordPress plugins, by the way, for forums who are compliant.
They all have ARIA, don't they? All I've seen do.
Not all of them that I've seen.
Yeah,
No.
ARIA is also overused and misused and cause a lot. HTML5 really has a lot of power.
Yep.
ARIA just kind of helps it when necessary with like a name role value. It added to it, but HTML5 is really like a strong backbone for basic
Yes.
web pages.
Yesterday, when I was doing some digging in online to learn about ARIA, I found some post someplace where the guy said the 5 basic rules of ARIA. Rule
Don't
number
use it.
1, don't use ARIA.
Yeah. Yep.
And that was his point, that so many people use it when it's not necessary.
Mhm.
And it even ends up conflicting with what you're trying to convey. So there are times when ARIA is necessary, and there are times when it's appropriate. There are definitely a lot of times when it is being used and it shouldn't be.
Right.
Does tabbing that works in forms usually work when you add ARIA?
I haven't.
Now you can use your keypad to move
I
around.
haven't seen ARIA presence affect that one. Well, I never looked for that.
For tabbing, yeah. I'm trying to think how tabs are coded.
in a form, remember?
Yeah.
Like I used to tab through my forms by using the keyboard. It was faster.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's now you're talking about focus state and focus order, and which is vital. And some forms will even navigation menus will bypass the drop downs. Like you can only do like that first menu, but you can't get to the child. That's crazy stuff. And the other one is accordions.
Mhm.
Say that, or like a FAQ, you can't open it up. The focus state doesn't take you there. That's actually a really common error.
Now, when you say focus, you're talking about the tab, right?
Yeah, so that you
As
can
opposed to the cursor arrows.
right. Everything, and that's actually important to know. We have to be able to navigate with the keyboard tab key. Every link, everything that's linked, not every word, but every link.
Well, like yesterday, Steve and I were looking at the footer of a site, and the tab would take you to there were several links listed in 2 adjacent columns in the footer. Okay. The tab would take you to the top one of each column, but you had to use the cursor arrows to go down through the remaining beneath it. That is not compliant, then, is what you're saying, if I understand.
They messed with the order and probably did it on purpose, and that's where they start breaking WCAG. There's some rules about that, but they don't, you can control it. You're not supposed to. You're supposed to be able to let everybody get through, top to bottom and
So
all
even if
that,
it's an
but
accordion or a drop down, a tab alone should get them through all of the points.
should, right.
Okay, good to know.
But
Yeah.
then you've got the details tag available to you now, and that's browser-based accordion, so should be readable. I'm just looking up W3C and seeing if it is accessible, and I think it is because it's fairly new. We're all
Oh,
using
the
details
thing,
tag,
yeah.
aren't we?
Yep. And that's the other thing, the focus state, that's fun. I mean, we're literally like, you can design the focus state, which is the border, so that if you're using your keyboard, you know where you are. Every time you hit a link, it'll be highlighted. And you can, with CSS, you can color that. You can color the border, you can color the background, you can change the font. It's a visual, doesn't help anybody with screen readers, but visually it highlights where you are. And that's really, that helps a lot of people, especially with cognition and understanding, where they are and the
And the
words and
old-
stuff. Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I like the things where everybody at some point is temporarily disabled, whether
Yes.
you can't use two hands because you've got something in the other hand, like a baby or a pint, preferably, and then you only got one hand available.
I'll take a pint
and it's
over a
the same-
baby anytime.
the same way. So things like highlighting and focus on something is like if the sun is on your screen, you can't
Sure.
really see it properly, and then it'll highlight it. So it helps everybody, not just people.
Years
that got
ago,
bad sight.
we used to develop in Microsoft Access quite a bit. And when you add a new
Mm.
field to Access, it automatically sets the tab order. Well,
yeah.
then when you get into the design portion, you're dragging stuff all over the screen and you're hitting tab and it's leaping all over the screen.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
used to spend days going back and fixing that after a developer would go through and go, well, this is a better layout. It's like, that's great, but you didn't fix any of the tab orders.
Right.
And, part of me is like, that would be kind of a cool level of control to have in website development where I could go in and say 1, 2, 3, 4, and just manually drag somebody through the website. But there's absolutely no developer in the world that's going to develop that
Right.
because
That's what AI is for.
oh, could you imagine doing that in a WYSIWYG editor where you're dragging blocks
Yeah.
and it's like, yeah.
That's where we should have AI in the background. Just you press a button, AI goes through the code and says, right, here's the tab order. Dink.
Right.
You order stuff in WordPress menus using numbers. Just saying. I gotta let everyone know, Steve, that I know more about WordPress now.
Don't tell Ed. He hates that. Hates WordPress.
I did too until I started looking at it. It's not as bad as I thought.
I have an equal level of love and hate for pretty much every developer and CMS platform out there. They all do
Pretty
something
much.
really, really amazing, and they all do something really, really horrible. And none of them care what the users have to say.
exactly.
Like try and change the robots text or the robots tag in WordPress.
Well, we just went through
I've
that with
never
another.
seen anyone be able to do it.
We went through that with another platform trying to get them to implement multi-factor authorization for logins. And they kept going, well, not enough users care about it. It's like, this is not something that users should have to care about. This is something you should just do because it's good. And the level of fighting that had to be done before they finally said, okay, we're working on this now.
A 3-year
Right.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can just go into your hit access and deny by
No,
Nope.
not if you don't have access to that and you're building on somebody else's platform.
okay. Well, I wouldn't
Yeah,
I wouldn't
WordPress.
be on
yeah.
a server where I didn't have access to that for that reason. Well, Steve's gone.
Lost Steve.
He's just off camera.
So yeah, I would be definitely paying attention in 2024. I think a lot's going to change throughout that year and hit people off guard. But I also don't think that the California bill stands a chance in hell in its present form. There's too many people lobbying against it, and including the IAAP that,
Right,
their
right.
certification got thrown in there. It's just, impossible to meet that. Other parts of it will probably be kept, but they're it's pretty close to some of the other bills that are already out there. There are others that I had told you about, Doc. I can probably send you the links to them, but they've just been sitting in limbo. In the United States present administration, like Tammy Duckworth has one. Both the House and the Senate, they both have accessibility bills, and they're just flopping in the breeze.
Is this a case of going in hard and saying, I want everything, and then actually not wanting that, but getting something you want in the, because everybody comes in and says, you can't have that, can't have that, can't have that. And it gets pared down to something that everybody's happy with, but actually it gets to the point where you get something that is workable and usable and you wanted in the first place. And if you'd gone in with that, you'd have got shouted down, you'd have got half of what you wanted. I'm wondering if it's a situation like that, because that's politics, isn't it? You go in with more than you want, come out with what you want.
Right.
Yeah, that's negotiation.
As,
You know, one
as
of
an
the things,
effort to get people to the table.
Yeah.
one of the things that I noted, you know, I keep going back and mentioning GDPR simply because it was a massive effort that was unexpected on so many fronts. There, they put, you know, 400 plus page document that included virtually every conceivable situation that could arise, and it made it a very intimidating document.
Mm-hmm.
But then when you dig into it, you find, okay, out of this 417 pages, really there's only 18 pages that apply to my business. Now it's suddenly a lot more doable, a lot less intimidating. And unfortunately here, with all of the different aspects that go into accessibility, now you have a 400 plus page document, and absolutely everything in there applies to absolutely everybody, plus his next door neighbor and the guy he had a beer with last Tuesday. And it's asinine. And I really hope you're right, and you normally are, that this bill has no prayer in hell of getting through like it is. I like to believe that myself. I'm just really concerned, having seen some of the asinine legislation that does come out of the California legislature in the past, that too much of it that is in there now is still going to make it through the sieve.
Yeah. Parts of it will. I think the certification parts are not going to fly. But other parts, including like deadlines, which all the bills have some sort of a deadline. They'll give you like,
or a grace period,
yeah, grace period, and or okay, you've got 3 years to fix blah blah blah. It's going to take 3 years for some people to save up enough money to pay for the people to help them fix it.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's where I go a little nuts. It's like, it's hard. Accessibility is hard. I don't care what anybody says. I've been doing this for a long time, and it's hard.
I bet it's easier to start over.
Yeah.
Try and fix it.
Well, then the other thing is, let's say, you know, some little bitty shop website gets nailed, and they're given 2 years to fix XYZ. They know there's just no way in the world, you know, they barely eat off of what they bring in. So they decide, screw it, I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to close it down. Okay. Yeah. Are they still going to be liable for fines? Is they going to be found in contempt of court? Is a different lawsuit possible? You know, it's just, it's a knee-jerk reaction to a very real issue that deserves attention, and they're going to make it worse.
Right. Through fear, which always drives me batty.
Yeah.
You know, that's not why you're supposed to be doing this. It's not
supposed to be doing it because it's right. Yeah.
Right. Right. You know, it's ethical.
And the entire time I've been building websites, I've had exactly one person ask about accessibility before we started.
Wow.
One. And I was thrilled that she asked, because it showed that she was carrying up front. Fortunately, she's got a very small website.
Yeah.
And we built everything as compliant as we could up front. And we try to do that anyway. But you don't know, things change. And even now I come across these, you know, WCAG minor issues. And I look at those and go, how is this even an issue? It's a JavaScript loader. Why is this coming up as non-compliant? And you know, so then it comes back to the tools aren't always 100% accurate.
Oh yeah.
And so we have to make a certain best estimate of what is important and what isn't, and just say, this is unfixable, it's not important. We're just going to make a note that we are aware that some tools report it as a false positive and move on.
Right.
I'm betting Ajax sites are just done like dinner. Like can't work because it renders differently. There's nothing for a screen reader to read until someone clicks the button.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, correct or not?
Yeah.
And it doesn't even get put into the page until someone, like, it has the potential to change the way websites are built,
Oh, absolutely.
and not for the good.
Speaking of change, AI is going to be, I'm ignoring it because I don't have to deal with it, but I know that there's that part of the puzzle. Some accessibility people are weaving AI in, but don't ask me how. I don't care. I don't want to know.
That's
But
that's
To me,
a real big leap.
yeah. Well, they're using it for like alt text or something, like for that, and
Right.
using,
Like go back and add
Automatically
periods
generated.
to all of my alt text.
Right.
Because if it doesn't have a period, it's not recognizable.
yeah. So
Which
yeah,
is something
that's
I
gonna
learned yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, I'm more of the human side. That's even part of the UX background and the human experience. But so I'm not really, but a fan of the AI side. But I mean, even with alt text, I want to be able to describe it for a human. Did you know that AI, some of them hallucinate?
Oh, God, yes.
Oh yeah.
Including Google's SGE, by the way.
Yeah, it's like, whoa,
I
that
did a
is like
search.
crazy.
Hey, in fact, I think I kept an image of it. I did a search the other day about AB 1757. Okay.
Oh yeah.
And SGE jumped in and told me that it has been signed into law, went into effect 1 January 2023 or 24, Steve, you recall?
23.
Yeah, I think it's already in effect since last January.
Whoa.
So, thank goodness the SGE has highlighted a different background color. How about the poor schmucks out there who are using Google but don't realize that, don't even know what SGE,
Well,
have never
you're a
heard of
schmuck if
hallucination.
you're using those programs, Doc. They're teaching the LLM. They're training it for them.
Well,
It's mental. And then they steal your content and put it out there as their own. It's
yeah, but
ridiculous.
that's a rant for a different session. I'm just talking about the fact that SGE is pumping out hallucinated garbage.
Yes, it
It's
is.
only in America and Japan and India, so it's not really that important.
And I know Casey Marquis was talking yesterday that they were using an AI tool for helping with alt text for images. And they were thrilled if they got a 50 or 60% accuracy rate.
Wow.
And but I mean, if you're dealing with a large site, having it take care of 50% of your problem is good.
Oh,
But how do you
sure.
push 50%?
Mhm.
You still have to go back and check it.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's right now. I just want a tool that tells me that the alt tag is missing or it's
Right.
empty,
Yeah.
and then can scan a whole website, and then we can go back through and fix them as needed. Because it's end users just don't care. That's not something that's on there. Heck, they're uploading 16 meg images for a thumbnail. What do they know?
Yeah. That's
Oh, boy.
probably more of an accessibility issue on a telephone than half the stuff they're calling.
But you'll have an image rendering tool in there which takes a 16 meg file and turns it to a source set of very speedy files. So what's the issue?
Yeah. Well, and I had a client who maxed out their hosting drive space doing that
Wow.
because
Whoa.
they were uploading giant 16 to 20 meg images, and then WordPress was making 8 different versions of that image.
Right.
Oh,
They
right.
had thousands of
Yeah.
images, and it was suddenly, it's like, well, why did my website go down? It's like, well, let's find out. It's like, oh, you're over your drive space limit. And so they would pay
I've
for
never
more
said
drive
that.
space from the host and then max that out. And it's like, wow, you people have got to learn how to resize your images before you upload them.
Yep.
Or
Yeah.
set limits in WordPress. You can do that, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why you guys get
Wow.
paid the big bucks, man.
Huh?
That's why you guys get paid the big bucks.
Is that it?
Right.
Yeah.
I
Well,
thought
there's
it
a
was our
lot
good
of
look.
Oh, who gets
little
big
details.
bucks? I'm not that guy, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
We need to tag on an accessibility fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm willing, well, I shouldn't say willing to bet, but when SEOs get together like at PubCon and whatever, accessibility should be on the map.
Oh, yeah.
And I know it's not,
No.
but you
I
know,
think there was a few talks on accessibility at Brighton last
good.
week. So yeah, which was good.
good. Yeah.
It is
And there's good people out there.
But that was
Really are.
probably because of CWV too, though.
Mm.
Probably,
Or
yes.
web values, right?
Or LSI keywords, is that Terry?
Yeah.
And
My
the
problem-
UK has laws that the Americans
we
do
do.
not. So, you know,
It becomes a problem for a lot of us like me, who we know quite a bit about the topic, but don't feel comfortable speaking on it.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, and it becomes one of those self-fulfilling issues because the handful of people who are qualified, they're busy, you know, and it's frustrating because I don't know how we can continue to get the word out because it's important.
Mhm.
And before we go, we're at the hour. I wanted to mention there is an accessibility conference that starts next Wednesday. It's a 2-day conference. Joe Hall is involved in it.
Is that the WordPress
Oh,
one?
yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Accessibility Day.
Yeah.
Yep. It is a 2-day deal. Wednesday and Thursday next week. Look for WordPress Accessibility Day, sign up. It's free. Watch,
Yep.
learn, do what you got to do because you're going to have to know this. You're going to have to go out of business.
Yep.
And at a certain point, I will be one of those people pointing at you to make you go out of business.
Yeah.
It's hard. Our industry is hard enough as it is with the level of people who can come in and just do crap work and get away with it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of done being nice about it.
Yeah, but they aren't going to be able to do that much longer with laws like the one in California.
Right.
But
But you still
nobody's
got
going
to
to be doing
point. You
it.
still got to point them out. You got to
Well,
hold them up to the sunlight so that they
Plus
go
the
away.
fact, if this thing takes effect in January, somebody gets sued in February, they're going to have a court date in 2027.
Yeah, that's when there'll be time for
So they're going to make their money and get out and drop it and do something else. It's just, this is, besides being draconian, it's unenforceable.
Right.
But there is one thing that the web always adapts, like with GDPR, right, Doc? Within a month of that coming out, there was a thing in WordPress that you could basically become pretty compliant by just filling their form.
And that was another thing, just like accessibility, it was the right thing to do. It's common sense and decency. You know, just, you don't steal somebody's private information and sell it to marketers unless you're a real piece of crap. Unfortunately, we have a lot of pieces of crap floating around in our industry. So it happens. And there's a lot of people out there that don't give a damn. You know, I sell bicycles. What do I care about cripples? Now, I actually saw that comment in a Quora thread the other day.
Whoa.
And I thought, you know, the things you hear when you haven't got a baseball bat, you know,
Mhm.
but it's just some people just don't care.
Right.
And some people who do care are not vocal enough or active enough to make themselves heard. So, or if they happen to be in one of the handicap fields, then they're not able to make themselves heard. So that's where it falls upon us to help them be heard. And
Right. To be
I
advocates.
think this is a very important issue. It's also a very important business issue for everybody that's got a website. God knows for everybody that builds websites, anybody that builds themes or plugins or platforms or a CMS, anything like that is potentially at risk.
Mhm.
And we better pay attention and get on get on board with it, because it will eventually become your problem.
Right. And there's a lot of free training and a lot of really good resources out there.
Yep.
And teachers. It's so many good people out there, because WCAG is ridiculous to understand, but there's good people teaching it.
There are the benefits of these things, like core web values, or the CWV thing. A lot of people wouldn't have done the stuff that you have to do to make a website work properly if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
So, the web is faster as a result, probably. Now that some fools went out there and charged people for it and made it a service, well, telling them it's going to improve their ranks, but that was just nonsense. There's always that, unfortunately.
Well, unfortunately, that is the nature of the beast. Yeah, but yeah, you're
I
right.
think I have to go to work. Sorry.
Uh-oh. Kim, besides appreciating it tremendously,
Yeah.
always love hearing you talk about your passion. And
Oh, yeah, it's definitely, I'm surprised I'm still doing this, but
I am surprised you've held up so well. Yeah.
yeah.
It's intimidating for sure. But
It is.
You
thank
drink
you
more
very
now,
much.
right?
I'll be dropping a bunch of links into the show notes. And if you have some you'd like to toss in there, let me know. I'll be glad to drop them, or you can just drop them in the chat too.
Okay.
But thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We'll be
Thank you.
talking again.
Thank you for inviting me. It's nice to see you guys. I'm in a total different world entirely. Corporate land is interesting, but fun.
Well, tell your director who gave you permission to do this,
Yes.
we appreciate this, okay?
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
your voice is important
Thanks.
to a lot of
They
people.
don't know about me, it's really funny. I think she does, but in general, they don't know my history and, or anything like that. Till I opened up my mouth. Like,
tell Doc
there's
Sheldon-
an SEO thing there. And they're like, wait, you know about SEO? And I'm like, yeah.
Tell them Doc Sheldon said they better get off the stick and learn about you. That's
Yeah.
bound to impress them no end.
That's okay.
You take care, kid.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Take care, you
Bye-bye.
guys.
Thanks, Kim.
Okay.
I'm
Bye-bye.
going to go ahead and kill the live stream here. Thank you, everybody who tuned in to watch. I will be, after the fact, here dropping some show note links in there for information and or resources. If you want to learn more about accessibility, if you don't,